Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney theme parks podcast. And this is show number 256 for Sunday, the 14th of April, 2019.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls. And on this week's show, we have got the wonderful, the lovely Deborah Wolfe. Hello and welcome back to the Disney Dream Girls.
Hello, thank you for inviting me back.
We love talking Disney with you, Deborah. We really do.
And I love listening to your podcast, so it's a match made in heaven.
Perfect. Now, it's been, I'm sure it's over a year since we've been last chatting on the show about Disney. So can you just give everybody a little bit of a synopsis about your Disney fandom, where you are in the world, etc.?
Well, I have most of my trips in the past have been, or at least in the recent past, have been around race weekends. So since last summer, I've been to Disneyland Paris for the 5K, 10K and a half marathon. I've been to Walt Disney World in November for their wine and dine races. Again, a 5K, a 10K and a half marathon. In January, I went to Disney World for their race weekend, but I just did the marathon. They have 4 races that weekend, but I just did the marathon on the Sunday, which was a lot of fun. And I've got a couple of trips planned coming up, including my mother's 80th birthday bash. We'll be going down with 10 family members in May to celebrate her 80th birthday.
How wonderful. So mid-planning, thinking about fast passes and strategies now?
That's right, and ADRs, so we've got different restaurants and trying to plan things that'll be a nice surprise for my mom. She hasn't been in, 30 years. They used to take us a lot when we were children, so she's looking forward to doing some of the things that she did with us when we were girls.
Oh, have you any pictures from when you went there as a young child that you could maybe try and replicate now as adults?
That is a fantastic idea. I am going to have to pull a box out of my storage unit. See if I can find some pictures. Maybe my sister has some. Yeah, we could. I love that idea.
And maybe not tell Mum what you're doing, and then afterwards give her it as a little bit of a gift, as a, nice little reminder of the trip.
Yeah, that's a lovely idea.
I've seen lots of people do that, and I must admit, I go and sit in Hollywood studios with the sign behind me every single time, and I've got them going from 2010, so to chat how I've changed and all the scenery and topiary behind me.
Those are lovely. I've seen some people who take their children, every year, and they always do a picture with them in front of something, and it's so neat to see how the children grow up. I'll have to go back and see. We went 4 times when I was a kid, kind of every 2 years. And so I'm going to go and see if I can find some pictures from those days.
Exciting stuff. I am sure there will be some very dodgy character costumes.
Right.
Well, we've brought you on this week's show to have a little bit of a chat. Firstly, about what you've been up to with regards to Disney, because you tend to go on lots of short little trips, and in those trips you sometimes pay for these hard ticket events to enable you to get the most out of your time. So I'd love you to talk to us a little bit about one of those such events and tell us why you booked it, what you found out about it, and whether you'd recommend it.
Yes, we did the Toy Story Early Morning Magic. Yeah, it was amazing. It was in January during the race weekend. We did it the morning after the marathon, or maybe the second morning after the marathon. So we were still all feeling a little rough at that point. We did it because we wanted to have some time in Toy Story Land. There's the 3 rides there: Alien Swirling Saucers, Slinky Dog Dash, and Toy Story Mania, and they still are quite popular, all 3 of them, and so the lines can be quite long. And I had done Magic Kingdom's Early Morning Magic with my son a few years ago and really enjoyed that. So a group of friends and I decided to buy that Early Morning Magic at Toy Story Land, and we loved it. It starts 7:30 or so. So you're in Toy Story Land for about an hour and a half before the regular park guests come. They don't do it on Extra Magic hour mornings, and you essentially can just go ride to ride to ride to ride. And we did that. We did Alien Swirling Saucers, Slinky Dog, Toy Story Midway Mania, then back to Slinky Dog, and then back to Toy Story Midway Mania. You kind of need a bit of a break after doing the on your arm. After playing Toy Story Midway Mania. And then they have a breakfast that's open the entire time, but it's open up until 10 o'clock at the commissary.
Okay.
It was a lovely breakfast. Different foods. You order it from the quick service location as if it were a quick service, but you can order whatever you want. You don't have to stick with just one item. And I didn't know that. And one of my friends got to the table and she had like 4 entrees. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "The lady told me to ask for everything."
Top tip.
And so you can go and you can get some breakfast before going to do the rides. And then once you've done the rides, we went straight to Toy Story Land, did the rides until the normal park guests started to arrive. And then we went back to the commissary and just sat around there for an hour enjoying our breakfast.
Can I just say, everybody who's considering this, make sure you take your Tupperwares for the excess breakfast that Deborah's told you to order. If you can't eat it, then you've got lunch provided.
Yeah. And I'm Canadian, so fried chicken and waffles are not something that we do. But they had fried chicken and cinnamon sugar donut bowl.
Oh.
This with a maple glaze, and I'm kind of picky on my maple syrup, right? Yes, because I'm Canadian. But this was fantastic. They also had a charcuterie platter with smoked salmon and egg and different meats. They had avocado toast and egg, and then they had a shrimp and grits bowl, something that I stay away from grits. That's kind of
I'm with you with that one. Grits is like, it's the word. I'm sorry, it's the word grit. It makes me think of the stuff in England that we throw on the ground to defrost the ice.
Yes. And it just, I can't bear it. The other thing they had there is a Mexican egg bowl, which looked really good as well. I don't recall the price, and the price changes from time to time in any case, but for me it was worth it to get the time with a very small group. They only sell so many of these in Toy Story Land, and then to have this outstanding lunch. In fact, I don't think I ate again until we went to dinner. We had an early-ish dinner. We maybe just had a snack at some point, but so you can have this lovely breakfast. It was worthwhile. But on our next trip, we're going to be doing the after hours event at Magic Kingdom.
Ooh, I did that last year.
I've heard great things. Did you enjoy it?
I really did. I thought it was fantastic because the park was really quiet. As the evening went on, it got quieter and quieter. A lot of people seem to spend a lot of the time queuing up to get the foods. Well, we were spending our time hitting all the attractions, and we had a great strategy. We got on all the big ones like Space Mountain and hit that over and over and over. So we weren't sort of going, oh, let's go and do Haunted Mansion, let's go over and do Space Mountain. We went to an attraction and we hit it 2 or 3 times, and then we moved on to a different attraction, hit that 2 or 3 times.
Okay, well that's a good advice. We're doing it the night before the Star Wars 5K, and so our plan is to do the evening after hours event, and then have some food, and then go directly to the 5K. So there won't be any sleeping that night.
You mad woman.
I agree.
But the one thing I will say, the snacks that you were able to get, your sodas, your water, popcorn, iced treats. So for somebody like me, I'd never really tried a lot of the Disney iced treats. I'd never tried a chocolate nut covered banana. I hadn't tried some of the frozen ice lollies. So it was great to get them and think, I'm only going to have a taste of this to see what it tastes like, and then I don't have to eat the rest.
Yes.
That was interesting. We managed to finish off on Space Mountain and got to the People Mover at 1 minute to midnight, and they let us on, the last riders. And then we managed to run and get a box of popcorn, and then we went and played over by the castle and took some castle selfies. They weren't particularly wanting to push us out at the park either. So we sort of hung back well past the 12 o'clock finish point for us. It was really good. It was really weird, though. I'm going to share something that I don't think any other Disney podcast will have discussed about Disney after hours.
Okay.
We saw the cockroaches.
Oh! It is Florida. It is Florida.
Yeah, it was not pretty looking down around the castle, seeing all of these things scurrying around because all the little elephant-type people had disappeared. All those big bounding footsteps, and then they thought, oh, it's safe to come out to play and eat all this popcorn people had left.
Oh, that's just repulsive.
Yeah. And then the little men came out with those vacuum cleaner machines to start cleaning up, and then they started making sure we were sort of making our way down Main Street. There were still some photographers around, even after 12 o'clock, and they were very obliging to take our pictures. But yeah, we really hit the park hard and got in a lot of attractions.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. It's again, as you said, it's a short trip. These race weekends, they tend to be short and intense. And so by doing the Magic Kingdom After Hours, it's going to pick off that entire park, and we won't go back there then that weekend. And we'll focus it on the different spots.
Well, exactly. If you can hit off everything in the Magic Kingdom, you might want to be focusing on other parks. So thinking ahead, what about Star Wars and Galaxy's Edge that's going to be opening?
Well, Disney World, Galaxy's Edge opens on August 29th, and I'm actually going down what was supposed to be a food and wine weekend with my sister on August 30th.
Oh,
and
Lord.
I have not told her that Galaxy's Edge is opening. She's not a huge Star Wars fan, so I'm going to have to try and figure out, are we going to just simply avoid the Studios park when we're there because, that's not her thing? Or can I convince her that we should devote half a day or a day to going and seeing what's bright and shiny and new?
Honest opinion, I think you'd spend all the time queuing. I personally would enjoy the fact the other parks are going to be quieter.
That's my tendency, but it's going to be so tempting.
Yeah. I must admit I am staying as far away from social media as possible because I don't want to have too much of it spoiled for when I go. I miss out on going because I had to reschedule the cruise I was going. I was going on a cruise at the end of August, so I was going to do a week in Walt Disney World and then the cruise. But because of my involvement with the Army Cadet Force, it clashes with the trip to Northern Ireland that I'm doing with the cadets.
Oh.
So we've had to postpone the cruise till next year, and we brought our Disney trip forward. So I haven't yet told him indoors that I've sort of cancelled the trip and he's now lost the chance of going at the end of August. And yeah, I better not tell him.
That's unfortunate, but priorities, right? I think the cadets, it's a wonderful organization and a great thing that you're doing it.
Yeah, and to be honest, would I really want to be there with the craziness? No, it'll wait. I'm going to be back in Walt Disney World either 2020 or 21 for the 50th, so not fussed. So what races have you been up to since we last spoke? Because you are a bit of a Disney-run Disney person.
Yeah, one of my, I guess my biggest thing that I do is do the Disney races and wear costumes.
So
while doing them. So the Disneyland Paris, I did it in 2016 and then went back in 2018. And I had done it by myself in 2016 and met some British people through social media and spent a bit of time with them. And this time I had made some friends with some Americans. And so a woman from Houston, a woman from the Washington, D.C. area, and we went over, spent a few days in Paris before heading out to Disneyland Paris, and did the races there and had just a fabulous time. I did the half marathon dressed as Cruella de Vil with a full-on wig and dress and gloves and cigarette holder.
Oh my word, I couldn't even do it if someone was pushing me in a wheelchair.
It was so much fun. Maybe a little bit more humid than I would have liked, but the time in the parks, you run through the parks early in the morning. And Disneyland Paris, you don't start until around 7, which is very civilized compared to Disney World or Disneyland, where it was 5 or 5:30, maybe 6 in the morning. And but you run through the parks, lots and lots of time in the parks. There's characters, there's photos. You can take all sorts of photos. And then you run through the beautiful French countryside, around a lake, through a little village, and back through the hotel area in Disneyland Paris, and then finish in one of the parking lots. It was fantastic. I adored it. And but it's far for North Americans to go to Europe. So I'm thinking 2020 I'll go back. So every couple of years.
Fab stuff. You never know, you might want to sneak in, and this is my segue to the cruising bit, you might want to sneak in a Mediterranean cruise. You see how seamlessly I sort of steered our conversation down the route of let's talk about cruising.
Yes.
We've both been on one Disney cruise. Though you've been on cruise ships from Royal Caribbean, I've only been on one Royal Caribbean cruise. But I thought it'd be really interesting to get your viewpoint, and we can do some comparisons between the two cruise operators, because the first thing we will both agree on, Disney is expensive.
That's right. Absolutely. The Disney cruise, I think it's going to be probably 30 to 50% more expensive than one of the other cruise lines. Mm-hmm. And I think at that point you have to say, why would I choose a Disney cruise instead of another cruise line that is comparable, better in some areas, worse in other areas? And so what is it that would draw you to Disney? For me, what would draw me to Disney is, for example, my one Disney cruise that I've done was after doing the Dopey Challenge in 2017. Mm-hmm. So that's the race weekend in January at Disney World, where you do the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, and the marathon. Unfortunately, the half marathon that year was canceled for bad weather. But they've got a Castaway Cay challenge where you do one or more of the races in January at Disney World, and then you take the short 4-night cruise on the Disney Dream that goes to Castaway Cay, and there you do a 5K and you get an extra challenge medal. And so for me, that was worth it to get. All I want is this little medal, that's probably worth $1.50. And I'm willing to spend thousands of dollars to go on the Disney Dream to do it. So that's why I had done that Disney cruise. And I've got 2 more Disney cruises booked in the next year. One with a podcast. They're both with podcasts, mm-hmm. other podcasts. And so, competitor podcasts.
We're all family members. I don't see it as competitors. I see it as people that we all have our different style, different type of podcasts. So we're all in the same family.
It's true, and it's nice to have a selection of podcasts that you get different things from the different podcasts. But a couple of the other podcasts do cruises, and so I'm doing one in June, and then another one in February 2020. And unfortunately, they'll all have been on the Disney Dream, so I'm not even going to get to try any other ships.
Well, I'm not mentioning the one in February because it's in the wrong week in February, because if a week later I could have gone.
Oh, that's too bad.
I messaged Ashley and I said, just let me check the dates, because it's a 5-night one, isn't it?
Yes.
So I thought, great, I could fly out on the Saturday, I could do the cruise and fly back on the Saturday, all sorted, I can go. And then she said it's the wrong week in February.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's the Monday following the princess races at Disney World. And I think there's an American holiday right around that time frame.
Ah, well, I'm looking out. My bad luck, but... Yeah. So where was the cruise you did before? That was a Disney one. That was Caribbean, wasn't it? Was it Eastern, Western?
So it was simply Castaway Cay and Nassau.
Ah, right. Okay. I've got it now.
Yeah, and the one I'm doing in June is what they call a double dip. They all have left from Port Canaveral, mm-hmm. or have or will, and then are the short ones with the Castaway. I'm saying it wrong, I know. Castaway Cay.
Do you know what? I think it depends on where you are in the world on how you say it. I'd say Castaway Cay. I've heard other people say Castaway Cay. I don't care. We know what you mean. It's good.
Okay. Hopefully people aren't shouting at their phones.
They're probably saying, Deborah! Michelle, you've got it wrong. But you know what? We've got dialects, eh?
That's right. Yeah, people listening to our crazy accents.
I know. It's like, between me and you, I hope they can understand us.
Hey, I don't have an accent. We in Canada, we're in the middle. We're kind of, no, right? Or I should say, eh?
Hey, I don't have an accent. I'm British, so... So where did you go with the Royal Caribbean?
Yeah, so I've done, let me just get my list up here. I've done a number of Royal Caribbean cruises, and this is my sister cruises with Royal Caribbean, and so she had been inviting me for years to go on a cruise with her, and I kept saying no. And then finally in December of 2015, we decided to take a short 4-day cruise out of Tampa for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And we actually went over Christmas. My sister, myself, my mother, and then my sister and I both have 2 children. And so there were the 2, 4, 6, 7 of us. And we had a 2-bedroom suite. And we went from Tampa down to Cozumel and back. So very short cruise. And I discovered this is great. I love this. It was so much fun. There's so much to do on the cruise ship. You get to go to an interesting place. And then we've done a couple of the Caribbean ones. We've done one out of New York down to Bahamas. And we did this last May 2018, we did a Mediterranean cruise out of Barcelona.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a 12-nighter on one of the smaller ships because the Mediterranean ones tend to be the smaller ships, not always, because the Symphony did, which is the largest ship. The Symphony spent last summer in the Med, but we were on the Vision, which is quite a small ship. So there's not a lot to do on it compared to some of the larger Royal Caribbean ships, but it can get right into these ports. So Barcelona, Nice, Livorno, Rome, Salerno, Venice, Ravenna, and then Kotor, Montenegro. It was wonderful. Loved it.
A lot of history in that part of the world. That's the one, a similar itinerary I did. I did a 7-night Mediterranean.
Yeah, it's so nice to get a taste of what's in the different spots. And my theory for these types of things is to pick one or two things and do them well rather than trying to see everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good tip. So let's just think for a moment, what in your opinion do Royal Caribbean do really well that is over and above and comparable or better to what Disney do?
So two things that come to mind first. I mean, well, three things, I guess. The first would be that Royal Caribbean just has so many ships that they're all over the world. They have a variety of experiences. And you're with that, so many ships, your loyalty points, so the Crown and Anchor Society, which is what the Royal Caribbean has, you earn them by night. And so you've got such a wide variety of ships, and you're not always just stuck doing the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. And so that's one thing. The second one is kind of odd, but it's the art. Now, I'm an engineer, and so art for me is kind of something that I look at and I don't really understand. But the art, and I was really surprised by this because I thought Disney was going to do this better. But the Royal Caribbean, the art they have everywhere throughout the ship is just fantastic. And I found myself taking pictures and taking pictures and taking pictures, and there could be things that were funky. Like there was one that was this kind of a 3D piece made out of electrical circuitry. And I just loved it. And I was looking at it from the side and from the front and trying to, all the different levels. And then they had used state license plates and made the outline of the US. And that was beautiful. So the art is the second thing. And the third thing that I would say is the suite experience. If you have the money, or you can share, like for me, when I've done suites, it's either been with my family or with friends. Mm-hmm. And so we could split the cost. The suite experience on the Royal Caribbean is head and shoulders above what my concierge experience was on Disney.
Okay. And we'll come back on talking about Disney experience in a few moments. So what did you find that Royal Caribbean was lacking?
I think that Disney's cast while the Royal Caribbean staff are wonderful, I think the cast members that Disney have and the training they go through just take them to more of a family type atmosphere. Mm-hmm. There's something special about how they're trained and how they interact with you that is missing in other experiences. So I think that's a really big one. I think too, I don't have little kids anymore, but from what I understand is people with little kids, I think that Royal Caribbean is better for older teenagers, but for little kids, I think Disney probably shines there.
Okay, good points on that. I know from experience with my children, I couldn't get them out of the Royal Caribbean Club. Seriously, it was like prizing them out with the crowbar. The range of activities they did seemed very, very vast in comparison to when I went and had a look around the kids' club on the Fantasy last year. I didn't see that it was a very nice setting, but I just didn't see the same vast experience. I think it was a lot more of we're watching them rather than entertaining them, if you know what I mean.
I do, and I think I've never taken my children when they were young, so I can't answer that. But I know that my sister, when her children were young, they had done a couple of Disney cruises, and then they switched over to Royal Caribbean, and they loved it, and the kids loved it. I've heard some people say it's just like babysitting on Disney, but it's experiences on Royal Caribbean. Mm-hmm. But what Disney has that Royal Caribbean doesn't have are the characters. Mm. And so you don't get Mickey Mouse in the atrium, or the princesses, or the Star Wars characters, or whoever it may be, depending on which cruise you're on, or Jack Sparrow. I would like that one. Royal Caribbean at the current time does have Kung Fu Panda, but I guess the contract with DreamWorks is ending, so I don't know what's going to happen there. But they also aren't around. They're not available for you to go and meet on a regular basis. It's not the same thing. So, I think for someone who's looking at the different cruise options, they need to take a look and say, what do you want to do here? What do you want to do there? The other thing that the larger ships have, and I don't know when Disney gets some larger ships, but escape rooms. They have escape rooms on the Royal Caribbean ships, and they are so much fun.
I've never tried one. Never.
I mean, you know the concept, right?
Yeah.
You're locked in a room and you have to solve clues in order to get out of the room.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd be still in there two months after the cruise because I am not very good at problem solving like that.
Well, as I said, I'm an engineer. My daughter's an engineer. My nephew's an engineer. And we are just like, going at this, just, what clue is this? And so any clue that's kind of math-based or, trying to figure things out that way, other family members have other talents. And so it's good to have a group that's got a diversity of backgrounds and you can try and figure things out together. It's a great experience.
Sounds fun. So let's move over and talk about the Disney experience, which we've both done. Mine was a 7-night Western Caribbean. Yours was the trip down to Castaway Cay. And I think those are the two words to me that sells the Caribbean, Castaway Cay. It
is amazing. The day I was there, it was very, very cold, but fortunately no precipitation. I guess I could just say rain. This being the Caribbean. But the views and the things that they have to do there. Now, when you were there, was it warm?
It was August, so it wasn't warm. It was furnace level.
Oh, no. Well, it was so cold when we were there. I was there with 2 other Canadians. We actually didn't even go in the water. It was that cold.
Oh, no. That was the best bit.
Yeah. But it was still beautiful. We did the 5K in the morning. And because it was the special 5K that goes along with the races in January, we were off the ship when it was still dark. And we got to turn around and look at this stunning ship all lit up in the night sky, and then the sun started to rise, and you can just imagine how beautiful that is as the sky turns from completely dark and it's just going through those shades of blue as it gets lighter and lighter. It was stunning, and we got to do the that 5K race. Well, race. I mean, it's not a race. I don't race it. I'm very slow. But there were characters out along, and we got these special pictures with Mickey and Minnie in their Castaway Cay outfits. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and then the barbecue. Let's talk cookies. Wow.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I must admit, when we did the race as well, we'd had a very leisurely 40-minute walk around the course, and then we were able to go to the adult beach. And it was just so blissful because it was the adult beach, it was peaceful, it was serene. The sea, you could walk out for miles, I'm sure, because it was only went up to just beyond my knee. And I'm a little diddy one as well, so it's not very deep at all. And there's hammocks, and you can go get some drinks, and you can go get food. Oh, it was amazing. It was like you and maybe a handful of friends were on this desert island because you didn't see that many people.
Well, that's going to be something I'm looking forward to for my cruise in June. So I'm going on the Be Our Guest podcast cruise in June, and it's a double dip. So we're going to have 2 days. One day I want to do something active, whether it's they've got a kayaking excursion or parasailing, something like that. So we'll figure that out. And of course, I'll do the 2 5Ks. They're going to have a 5K each morning. I'll do both of those. And then, explore the adult beach.
And the 5K, I'm not kidding, is free. So you have to do it. It's free.
And you get a well, it's not a medal, it's a rubber medal, but it's cute, super cute.
It's a medal. It's my first Run Disney medal, and I have it to the side of me, my pride place at the study, because I did a 5K on a Caribbean island in 100% humidity.
And I imagine you would have wanted to get in the ocean after that.
Oh boy. Well, actually, we went in the shops. It was like, stop, I want to go and buy the Castaway Cay it was the sort of like Hawaiian style white and blue shirt. So I wanted to get there because I thought there might not be lots of them because I wanted the kids' extra large one. So I basically ran to the shop to buy it and then realised there were billions of them.
I don't think I did any shopping when I was on last time, but that sounds kind of nice, that blue and white. That suits my color palette.
Yeah, really nice, soft baby blue. And they do a dress and all sorts. And it's in the adult range as well. So I'm sure they'll be still selling them. But I'm like super competitive. I've got to get that shirt.
Competitive shopping.
Oh gosh, yes. Yes, it's mine. I've got to have it. Because I'd seen somebody in Walt Disney World the week before wearing the shirt. And I said, oh, where did you get that from? As you do. So, yeah. What to you stands out on the Disney Cruise Line as being phenomenal?
I've not tried Remy, but we did both brunch and dinner in Palo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fantastic. The food was phenomenal. The service was efficient and kind and friendly and but respectful at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You've done Palo as well?
I've done Palo brunch and Remy dinner.
Ah, okay. So I'm interested in the Remy. I don't know that we've got it. I'm pretty sure we're not doing it in June, but maybe on the February 2020 cruise I'm going on. But we did both in Palo, and they raised the prices recently, didn't they?
Yeah, it's gone up to $40 for the brunch. But to be honest, we were there 2 hours.
Yeah.
The amount of food we tried, it was so worth it.
It really was. And I don't enjoy feeling super full. I mean, I did after that brunch, but it was worth it. The cheese, the pastries, the entrees. I mean, it was wonderful.
It was like everything you could wish for. And then after Death by Buffet, literally, they bring you a menu and say, now would you like some more? And it's like, but please, sir, I can't eat any more. My little tummy's already full.
That's right. Yes, because it's that combo of buffet and menu, isn't it?
Yeah, and you have to have a Mickey waffle. It's the law. And it was the best Mickey waffle I've ever had.
I loved the cheeses and the roasted vegetables.
Oh, the cheese counter was to die for.
Yeah.
And I must say, in the name of research, with exception of the breads, because I did stay away from the carbohydrate table, I hit every item on that vastness of cheeses, meats and seafood, and I tried every dessert. I may not have finished every item, but I had a taste, all in the line of research.
Well, research is important.
I have to be able to feed back to people and tell them how amazing it was. And just the sheer experience of looking out to the ocean while you're eating a meal. And as you said, the service was attentive but not overbearing. And the surrounding was beautiful.
Really was.
Really made the sea day really something special, because we got a bit dressed up as well. And we went to Tiffany's afterwards, and it just really felt a very luxurious day.
So here's a top tip for going to Palo brunch for the ladies. Wear a little bit of a loose dress with no Spanx, no pantyhose, no nylons, and and go for it.
Yeah. Or you may have to disappear midway through the meal and go to the bathroom to adjust yourself, shall we say. And gentlemen, if you can get dress trousers that have actually got an elasticated waist, that would help you.
And then plan to walk the deck for a few hours afterwards.
Oh boy, yeah, absolutely. I think we did the gym beforehand, so we didn't feel as guilty.
Yeah, every morning when I've been on a cruise, I've gone out onto either the track, because all of them have a running track, or into the one day where I almost got blown over, not overboard, but blown into the side, like the railing. I went, okay, I can't do this. It was just, you could barely walk down the ship. I went, okay, I'm going inside. I'm going onto a treadmill. And just, being on a treadmill and watching the ocean go by, it's really special.
It is. Absolutely agree with that. So you mentioned earlier you don't know about Remy. It was a highlight of my trip. The four of us were able to get a table because, as I said, I was travelling with someone who had silver. So we were able to book it at an advanced point. We got escorted in, and as they were escorting us in, they were explaining about the decor, the lighting, the choice of paintings, the furniture. Then we got to sit down, little handbag stool, really attentive. I had a black dress, no white linen for me. Oh no, they come back with black linen for my napkin. That is really focused attention to detail. We had the sommelier come and talk about the wines and the water, because there's an extensive water menu as well. Then we had a cocktail made tableside, which was included in the price. And then the food. The food just didn't stop. It was delectable, divine, mouthful after mouthful. And you get to choose whether you want the American-inspired menu or the French-inspired menu. And it does change throughout the year. But it was just, I think we ended up with something like 9 courses and things to take away with us. And if you can do that, it is an additional charge, but it is well worth it. But my top tip, do not do Remy at the beginning of your cruise, because then the main dining room and everything you eat for the rest of your life will be a disappointment.
Oh, that's a good tip. That's a very good tip. So Paolo is Italian inspired and Remy is more French.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there was the American slant on the menu. So you can choose from either. So Kat on our table had the French, whereas everyone else had the American. And to be honest, I think we agreed at the end of the night she'd got a really good deal with hers.
Mm. Right.
But everything was delicious. Really, I could not put a price on that. If I would have had to pay out of pocket, I think I'd be looking around about the $200 to $250 mark per person.
That's interesting. Now, just a question: did you? You mentioned the main dining rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do early seating or late seating?
We chose early seating, and I think in hindsight that was probably, I don't know. It has its pluses and minuses for my point, because the minuses, you're getting ready and rushing back from your day, whether it's been a port day or you've been relaxing by the pool, but if you're not going to be doing the dinner, you'd be going to go and get ready for the show anyway.
Yeah.
So the downside was the early seating does tend to be more the family seating.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted a more leisurely dinner, and most evenings we were the last ones in the dining room, and they were like putting the lights on and clearing all the other tables, and it really spoiled the ambience for us.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, I think maybe the early seating has a lot of children.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think on my next cruise, I think I'll be more inclined to go down the second seating and go that way.
And that's what we've got. I think that's what we have for June. I'm not the main planner for June. I'm going with another woman. But I'm pretty sure that's what we have, because I don't know that there's very many children in our group. Normally, in my normal life, I would like to eat dinner a little earlier and then do the shows or activities later in the evening. But I like the idea of having less children around at meals. We did early seating as well, and I think I would like to try later.
Yeah. Absolutely. One of our listeners dropped us a message, Vicky Marie, and she was asking about what tips we would give to first-time cruisers. So would you like to answer that broadly with regards to cruising, with you having vast experience of going on quite a few cruises?
I have several thoughts for that. One is just, if you're used to Disney planning and Disney trips, there's much less planning that needs to be done. Once you've picked your cruise, which is actually kind of challenging, there's not a lot to do after that. There are a few things that you can book and schedule in the excursions, but it's not the same thing as booking your restaurant ADRs and then your fast passes and which park you're going to do on which date. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another would be around packing. I have developed several packing. Now I'm a list person. So I've got a work trip packing list, and I've got a Disney packing list, and I've got a Disney race weekend packing list, and I've got a race weekend somewhere else packing list. And so a cruise packing list is challenging because you tend to be changing several times a day, but you shouldn't think that, okay, that blouse for 2 hours last night for dinner. I'm not, it's dirty now. I'm gonna put it in the, in back of my suitcase, because you are changing so much. You have to think about, okay, what can I wear twice? What can am I going to wear my gym gear here? Am I going to wear my, my gym shirt to the beach, and then I can wear it the next morning to run? So that there's that type of thing to think about. And then the last thing I would say is to use a travel agent. And the reason I say this is because if you have a good travel agent who does this type of booking, and so a bad travel agent is worse than you figuring it out on your own. A good travel agent is fantastic. They are going to be looking for if there are sales that pop up. They're going to be reminding you, tomorrow you can book this. They're going to be saying, okay, well, would you like me to book that for you? And they can give you lots of advice. So those are my comments for somebody who's a first-time cruiser.
Spot on. I do know one thing with regards to, what I would advise with regards to Disney is know when you can book your activities, because that is crucial. There are so many things that you can book, and it's not just your shore-based excursions. There are free character breakfasts. There are some character meet and greets that are free. There's also your alcohol tastings and things like that, your mixology, but you need to know when you can book them. So if you're a first-time cruiser, it's going to be 75 days prior. If you've been on one cruise or up to 4 cruises before, you're classed as silver and you can book 90 days before. If you're a gold member, it's 105. And platinum, the creme de la creme, can book out at 120 days prior. And this made a massive difference last year because I was at the silver level, because I was able to book out some mixology sessions. And then Kat and Lewis, who were first-time cruisers, they weren't able to get anything because there wasn't a lot left for them. So I was able to sort of help them out, if you know what I mean, with the extras that I had booked.
I've heard or read that while the things book up, that you should look into it when you get on board, because sometimes the different experiences free up. If they're being held for guests in the concierge area and they end up not wanting them, that availability can open up either the first day of the cruise or during the cruise.
I absolutely agree, and that happened to me. I'd booked 2 places on the champagne tasting, and I wanted 3 because Kat, Lewis and myself all wanted to do that, but I'd only got the 2 places, and the day before somebody cancelled 3 spots and I was able to get the extra one. So going by and checking each day and saying, has any availability come for this, that and the other, it does happen, even for the Remy and Paolo experiences as well.
Mm-hmm. And even the cabanas on Castaway Cay are really, really sought after. And we tried to get one for June and we couldn't, but we'll try when we get on the ship to see if any open up.
Absolutely, top tip there. Another one is make sure you consider your room attendant, because we had a lovely lady looking after us. She really looked after us, made sure our room was beautifully tidy the whole time and nothing was too much trouble. She'd chase up dry cleaning for us and sort out extra conditioners and bath products. So what I took with me were little gift bags, and on different days of the cruise I'd give her a little gift bag, and in it was candies from my country. So lots of things that wouldn't melt as well, like little tubes of refreshers and love hearts, and I just gave her a little one each day. At some point during the day I just left it on the bed, and she was so grateful for having them.
Oh, nice.
And I know Kat and Lewis did the same. They took things from Australia and left them, and that was a top tip that I felt was worthwhile. Another idea would be to give a telephone card so that they're able to call family, because a lot of the cast members that look after you in the rooms are from different parts of the world and they've got family they do like to be able to give a phone call to.
Those are really good tips, and I hadn't thought of the bringing something from your own country to give them. Now, did you also tip them extra at the end?
On my first night in the little gift, I had these little gift pouches with this sort of like little ribbon that you could tighten up and open, etc. And what I did on the first day is I put $20 in.
Okay.
And I thought I'll give it at the beginning of the holiday, and then I gave her some more at the end.
Right.
And I don't know whether this helped for the attentiveness or what, but that's how I decided to do it, because I'd seen other people post on boards saying that this is what they did, and I thought, yeah, I'll do that.
That's I've heard that for hotels and different places, and I think that's a really good idea too. We've prepaid our gratuities for June, and that money will go to your room attendant and your servers. Whenever I've been on a cruise, we've always given more to our servers. If we have regular servers, if we're going to the main dining room or another dining room on a regular basis, or and also for our room attendant, if the room attendant is good. Mm-hmm. I have had experiences where the room attendant was a little bit lacking.
Yeah, good point. Very, very quickly, some other points. Take a cup, like the refillable beverage mugs, so
yes.
that when you go into the soda station on the Disney Cruise Line, you're not having to use the little small ones, the disposable ones that you can get there, because they're very quite small. If you take your own refillable mug, you can take it away, you can put a lid on it, it's not going to spill, and I'm just one of these safety people. I know it's a Disney Cruise Line, but I'm always at the back of my mind, could somebody be slipping something in my drink? And I know I'm not saying that it would ever happen, but you never know.
I think that's a good thought. On Royal Caribbean, they have drink packages, and you get a specific mug for that, which is nice to be able to carry around with a handle, that you've got something you can carry around. So if you do have one at home, whether you use it for your commute or you've got an old resort mug from Disney, those are really good.
Completely agree with that one. I would also think about joining one of the Facebook groups for your cruise. For example, the one I've just booked, I typed in the name of the ship and the date. Wham, there's a Facebook group already set up, and this cruise doesn't leave till August 2020. And on the previous cruise that I did, it became a really good community, and I'm still in touch with people that I met on that group, and I chat with them at least on a weekly basis, even though the cruise is long and gone, and we were very fortunate to bump into them whilst on board the ship as well. And these groups tend to organise things such as drinks sessions that they organise through Disney. They do something called a fish extender exchange, where you can put something round the door number on your room, and it's little gifts that people can go and take something from your gift box and put something in, and you're normally given a list of people to swap with as well. So that's quite a fun thing, especially for the children, and I know you've got 2 children, Vicky. I think your kids would love that.
The 2 cruises I'm going to be going on in the future are with podcasts. So they've got an automatic group set up. And so this is good for 2 reasons. One, the price can be better because it's a group going together. And the other is you've got these people who have a shared interest. And perhaps you've built relationships online through your social media, and you'll get to spend physical, actual time together. And I'm really looking forward to that for both of these cruises.
Yeah, and I think that links into what we're going to sort of end the show with. I was having a chat with my friend the other night, Thomas Allison, and I was saying, look, I really want to go to Alaska. And he was saying, well, Princess Cruises, you've got to go with them. And I looked at the prices, and don't get me wrong, they are about a third to sometimes up to a half cheaper than Disney, which is a lot of money. It seriously is. But then when I thought about, well, what about that cruise did I enjoy? It was meeting the characters. It was having the Disney. It was having the shows. It was going into these very themed environments, themed around something I love. It was having everybody on that ship having the common bond of liking Disney. So wherever you were, you always knew you'd be able to strike up a conversation with someone because they like Disney. And I think on a normal cruise ship, you would not necessarily have that common bond.
You're right. You're absolutely right. On a Royal Caribbean ship, if you happen to, be beside someone in a line or in an elevator, you don't have that to talk about. I mean, there's other things, of course, to talk about.
True.
Oh, did you have fun did you have fun in Rome yesterday, or those types of things? But it's just not the same thing as having that excitement. And I mean, face it, most of us who are listening to this podcast and going on Disney ships, we have a passion for the brand, I guess, or the world of Disney.
Absolutely. Like, I loved the fact I could do a little bit of Disney bounding, and there were other people doing Disney bounding, and I wore my Disney dresses, and I felt at home doing that. It was like an extension of the theme park holiday.
Mm-hmm. And I don't feel embarrassed wearing all of my Disney race shirts when I'm on a Disney cruise line, where I might not wear those on a Royal Caribbean cruise.
So to give people a rough idea, if you were considering a Disney cruise, you can step in and have a 3-night Bahamian cruise with 2 stops at Castaway Cay, just like what Deborah mentioned earlier, starting at about the $1,600 mark for 2 people.
Yeah, for a 3-night, that's the shorter ones. The price point seems lower, of course, because it's a much shorter cruise. But I mean, if you divide that out, that's over $500 a night.
Mm. And my top tip, if anyone ever is considering doing a Disney cruise, please just think about this one, the transatlantic. They've got one in May 2020 going from Miami to Barcelona, 12 nights on this amazing ship. You'll be entertained, you'll be meeting characters, there's the cinema, there's shows, there's lounging around and relaxing. It works out an approximate cost per person per night at $250, and that's all your food, all your entertainment. That is a steal.
How many nights is that?
That's 12.
12 nights. That's amazing. But most North Americans don't have the same amount of vacation time or holiday time that people from Europe do. But that's on my bucket list. I want to be doing those long cruises.
Oh, I would. But unfortunately, working in education, no chance of doing that whatsoever. That's right. But hey ho. So I hope there, Vicky, we've answered your question. But I'm sure we'll have a little chat anyway and help you guys get the most out of your upcoming cruise this coming year, because I know you guys are absolutely going to love it. Deborah, I would just like to end off by saying a massive thank you for sparing the past hour with us to chat through Disney, cruising and holidays.
Well, you're welcome. And it's been a pleasure spending this time with you and talking about a mutual shared love.
It so is, my lovely. It really is. And I can't wait to see what your next run outfit's going to be, and you'll hear and see pictures from your next wonderful adventure.
The next one is Star Wars, so you can imagine what those costumes will be themed as.
Exciting. Maybe you could do an ironic Star Wars one and just join a whole long line of people together and sort of have a distance to the end of the line is 6.5 months.
Yes, that would work.
For the ironic vote.
Yes. Oh, I can't imagine what it's going to be like the first months or even year that Galaxy's Edge is open.
I'm staying away till 2020. That's my mantra. 2020, maybe 2021. I think I'll probably see Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland before Walt Disney World. But anyway, my lovely, thank you so much. Let's wrap up this show. As I said at the beginning, if you want to contact us, you can reach out to us on social media via @DisDreamGirls on Instagram and Twitter. We have our lovely Facebook family page, Disney Dream Girls Podcast Family. Ask us to join up and have lots of fun conversations, sharing Disney love all over on that there Facebook. But until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.